I don't think I've ever admitted this, but I'm going to admit it
Ooh,
here first.
Truth alert, truth alert, truth alert. This is everyone's favorite part of these things anyway. Hey friends, it's Jason Zook, and this is a Q&A part 1 of 2. We haven't put many videos or podcast episodes out just because of Caroline's recent dealings with anxiety. These past couple months have been rough, but she started to feel better, which is amazing. So we took some questions from YouTube and Instagram. Thank you so much if you submitted them, and we broke the Q&A into 2 separate videos or podcast episodes. So if you want to watch with some editing and fun things, you can go on YouTube, or if you're just listening on your podcast player, that's totally fine too. We hope you enjoy it, and if you want us to do more Q&A videos like this, let us know. Send us an email, hit us up on Instagram, leave a comment on YouTube, whatever you want to do. But now, enjoy. Hey there, we're Jason and Caroline Zook, a husband and wife team who believes life is just one big experiment.
This is the show where we share our journey as we figure out this ever-changing thing called life. We cover topics like running a business, traveling the world, and clawing our way out of debt, all with the hope of inspiring you to live, work, and create with more intention.
Life might bring its twists and turns, but when you know who you are and what you want, you're never really lost. Welcome to Wandering Aimfully, the show. First things first, we'll share, because we're married. Which we'll get to. Big announcement. Wait, what? Crisp, cold. Oh, we're gonna show that we shared it. Wow. Old Milwaukee. I think that's what it's gonna be today. Or Old English. Either one of those is delicious.
I'm really out of practice. You're just like rattling them off, and I'm like...
Right, but this is...
my brain is just like, those are words, and he's saying stuff.
But also, this is who we are as people.
I'm slower, is what you're saying.
Okay. You heard it here first. I didn't say it.
I saw it in your eyes.
Alrighty, we asked some questions to you amazing folks, both here on YouTube, also on Instagram, and we got a bunch of them.
We asked you to ask
questions.
Us questions. We didn't ask you questions.
Technically, I asked a question.
We asked you a question, and we said, do you want to know anything?
Do you wanna? Fanta? Married.
We're married.
We'll get to that. Okay. All right, Nina.
Why do you keep saying we'll get to that when it comes to being married?
Because there's a question in here about it.
Okay, come here.
Oh, this again, always.
Why do a couple of these eyebrows really want to revolt? They're like, bye!
I need an eyebrow assistant.
Yeah. Okay.
Nina B.
Nina B.
Whose bracket did better?
Important I don't know.
Question.
Is this tournament still going? Did somebody win? Somebody won?
Do you know who was in the final game?
I know that Tennessee wasn't.
Okay.
Wait, the final game already happened?
Yeah, it's already over. Yeah. I watched it and you sat right there while I watched it here.
We should have cheered more.
Cheering is very fun. It is good for everyone.
What was I doing? Watching Survivor?
Yeah.
Did my bracket do better?
No, unfortunately, my bracket ended up with a score of 60 total points.
And mine?
Your bracket, 42.
Not that big of a difference.
Yeah,
guys,
but in the grand scheme of things.
Okay, in the grand scheme of things, the difference between somebody who watches all basketball and somebody who knows nothing is... Pow.
But you do know the bigger
42.
schools, so it's easy for you to pick bigger schools. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Fair.
Nina, I know you're a UK fan. Sorry, your season didn't work out. We're not fans of any school in specifics, so it didn't really work out for us either.
Is UK, Kentucky, or Kansas?
Yes. Kentucky. Good job.
They're both K's.
KU is Kansas. Come on, you gotta know
You're
this.
looking at me
like
I'm insane.
Lisa Criswell actually asked us 2 questions. First question, what are your thoughts on having kids?
Oh God. We went from basketball to kids.
I tried to warm us up with something light and airy.
Here's what we feel about kids. We've had many conversations about this.
This has evolved over time.
It will continue to evolve.
Yeah.
I would really love to have kids. Jason would less like to have kids, but...
not opposed to it.
He's not opposed to kids. And truth be told, I'll just say this. What we have come to is we're not ready for kids now.
Yep.
So let's not try to have a 5-year plan and overthink it and feel like I'm not one to believe in this biological clock, which is fine.
Also because you did a bunch of research on it.
It's true. A lot of... Listen, I'm not going to get into the science because I feel like we're going to get some trolls on that. They're going to be like, but
we don't have enough
my
viewers.
Fourth cousin had kids when she was 38 and it was really hard. You guys know that we are not big fans of letting outside forces dictate our choices in life. So if I'm not ready until I'm 40 and then we try to have kids and it's hard, that's okay. That was our choice. So we're taking it kind of year by year right now. I will say that going through all of this health stuff right now, they're like probably on a daily basis, I'm just grateful that we don't have kids.
I've thought about that almost every day that
because
you've been
I'm like,
sick.
how
Even when you had shingles. I was like,
Yeah.
first of all, I have Plaxico, our dog, and he's hard enough to take care of
Yeah.
because I have to do a bunch of stuff. He's older, so I have to
Yeah.
like carry him certain things and do
And
something.
like, I get it. Like if you do have kids, like you figure it out, it's fine. But the point is, I just think that everybody has their own schedule and what's right for them. And we're honestly not thinking that much about it.
And we're
right
on
now.
our own schedule. I think that's the biggest thing about kids and having kids that just for me has always been such a resistance is like, oh, you got to have them by this point in your life and you got to have this many. And, you know, it's like other people start having kids and you feel like the pressure to do it. But why? I mean, it's such a personal decision. So, yeah, I do think that we want kids in our lives. Actually, I know we want kids in our lives. It just is something for us that we want to fit in when we're ready and not just have happen because it just happens.
I would love to have just like a year of feeling really good and being like a good, like a healthy person. We also want to travel a bunch.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. That was a big one. Lisa also asked, are y'all vegan or plant-based?
I rarely tell people that we're vegan just because I think that comes with a lot of baggage. We do eat vegan at home, but I often say plant-based.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, so vegan, if for those of you who don't know the actual like definition, it's like any product from an animal at all. So like honey, you don't eat because a bee has to make that product and you're taking that product from a bee. So I would say we are vegan technically when we're at home, like you said. But it is easier to say plant-based just because people really do get on their high horses about being vegan and like how much vegan you are. So, all right, Rawa and Maddy, who are both Wandering Aimfully members, asked basically the same question. So
Is that?
Kind of cool. No, they asked a different question, which is, what happens when you disagree about something business related? The other framing of this was, do you ever have arguments on work or business stuff?
Let me think back to years ago when we talked about business stuff. I'm just kidding.
It has changed a lot. So there's a lot of different answers for this based on different timelines, but let's just go with where we are now because it would be a whole long video. So for Wandering Aimfully, I mean, we're really in this together. And that's the whole point of why we started Wandering Aimfully. It's the whole point of why we combined our businesses. Arguments, I wouldn't say we actually ever have arguments. I wouldn't even say that we disagree to a point of like where there's a standoff on anything. I think it's more, we'll bring something up and one person will have a different point of view than the other person. And some points it's just you bend to the other person if they just feel really strongly about it.
So what typically happens is...
Let's actually go real scenario,
okay.
social media.
Right, so it's like, oh, I really think it's important that we post on social media for X, Y, and Z reason. Right.
Actually
and then
saying
you being like, well, I would like to challenge that assumption and feel like it's less important. And what we'll do is we don't really argue as much as we kind of, well, I guess that it is arguing, but you think of it like a courtroom. Like you almost like, you bring evidence, you kind of, not like in a very structured way. Like I'm not saying
I wish I had a stack of papers.
We actually have a mock courtroom in our guest room.
Objection sustained.
No, the witness can't object.
Overruled.
Sidebar.
Guilty.
Speculation.
Hearsay.
Bailiff.
And we go there. And then here's what does happen very often. There's a phrase, there's a phrase that gets said, which is one of us eventually will become so fatigued by how stubborn we both are that one of us will say, okay, well, I don't feel that strongly, so I'm gonna defer to you. So it's like whoever's digging their heels in more, the other person usually is just like, okay, well, if we're arguing something that is not very clearly provable, whoever kind of feels strongly gets to test out their idea first is how it works.
Yeah, and I think a big reason why we don't have a lot of arguments or disagreements is because the foundation of what we're trying to accomplish is set early on. And so we have the same values, we have the same goals. I think where a lot of disagreements and arguments, especially with couples who work together, whatever, is when maybe like one person in the couple is very money focused and the other person is very product focused or customer service focused. And there's butting of heads. For us, we have the same goals. We have the same vision. We talk about those things from the beginning. So we're in alignment. And then anything else, like a social media discussion, it becomes, hey, is this actually going to help us get to our goals?
Exactly.
Because if it doesn't, then why are we spending valuable time on it? Let's put that time somewhere else.
That's the key. So that's kind of like your North Star, so that in any like disagreement or anything, you can come back to your values or come back to your goals and be like, hey, does this help us get here? And then it's a very clear yes or no answer that both people can agree on.
Marshall, our friend Marshall Haas, who he and his wife Jamie are currently traveling the world, asked a very appropriate question because
I'm living vicariously through their travels while
yeah. So Marshall asked, would you guys ever live in another country long term?
Funny you should ask that, Marshall.
This is a funny question for us because I actually thought we were going to beat Marshall and Jamie to this. I thought we were going to be living abroad, traveling, and what have you.
We had like a calendar up. It was beat Marshall and Jamie to abroad.
We cut their faces out. I mean, that sounds kind of morbid, but like just out of paper. We printed off there. Anyway.
We didn't do that.
Yeah, I actually thought this was going to happen a little bit sooner in life for us, but it didn't, and that's fine. But they are currently doing, you guys are doing exactly what we wanted to do, which was go to a place, stay there. I think you guys are traveling a little bit more within places than we would have wanted to. Our goal has always been, or at least my thought has always been, pick a home base for the like 90 days that you get to stay in a place, especially like in Europe, and then go somewhere else for 90 days, go somewhere else for 90 days, and just kind of do like a 3-month rotating thing.
That's what I had always thought as well. So, and we were thinking about maybe like doing that for a year, right? Yep. So basically 4 major like locations, like home bases for 3 months each, and then of course you can take like little side trips and stuff in the train and whatever. And a lot
of that for me is truthfully around trying to live in another culture and see what that's like. We've both only lived in the States our entire lives. Yes, we've traveled to Europe, but we've only vacationed in those places. And I think actually living, being, paying bills, like being a part of a, like a small little town or whatever is really exciting for us. Like we want to see what that's actually like.
But one thing that we've learned about ourselves, and mainly me, because you'd be fine if we were like
on the go constantly,
more nomadic.
We haven't done it enough to really know, but you are correct. I think I would probably handle it better.
I like novelty, but I also like routine, so I need a good blend of those. So that's why this idea of every 3 months feels great, because that's about enough time as I need to kind of settle into a place and feel like I have a routine and I have a coffee shop and I know a little bit of the language and I can, get settled. But then, it's time to move again, and I really like that.
I'll drop a link on screen for Marshall's website. You guys could definitely check out some of the posts that he's writing. I love that he and Jamie, his wife's site is also linked as well. They're both writing and sharing their adventures, which is really fun, because it's exactly, I think, what we would have done as well. So, and interesting, I have noticed that Marshall has said it is really hard to get into work routines with as much as they're traveling, and so I think they're doing longer stints now. So
last thing I'll say about this, because I'm sure people are wondering it, is like, oh, well, when are you going to do that? And there's a couple of different factors. Number 1 is obviously health stuff. I have to get a handle on what's going on. Number 2 is business stuff. We want to be at a place that's a little bit more predictable. We're still getting to our WAIM enough goal. And it looks like we're getting there. It's just going to take a little bit longer than we thought, which is fine. And then the third thing is little Plexico.
Cover your ears, cover your little dog ears.
Little Plexico, he is 13 this year. And
he's
not slowing down.
Yeah, we also don't have anywhere to like my mom could like take him while we go and do that. We live across the country. Plus, he's older now. He requires more work than just a younger dog. So we're just waiting for him to decide it's time to go over the Rainbow Bridge, and whenever that happens, we'll go. And we're not trying to rush him at all. Obviously, we want him to live out as many years as he wants.
Let me tell you, he is not slowing down.
Our friend Caleb Wojcik threw in a question to us. Caleb asked us, "How do you turn off your work brain or set boundaries when you work from home?" Good question. Hot question. Hot question.
Hot, don't touch! No. This is the kind of hot you want to touch.
I don't get it.
I don't think that you really do. And I think there's a caveat there. If you love the work that you do, a lot of times it just doesn't feel like work. It just feels like opportunities for you to continue to create stuff, to do things, to make things, to help people, to express yourself, definitely like through your art. And so there is definitely a time when you need to turn that off, because you can burn out, you can overdo it. But even if you're doing it sustainably, it can be really hard. Like we'll go to dinner, and this happened all the time, especially when we're like building Wandering Aimfully. It's the only thing that's on our minds that we want to talk about. So why do we have to shut that off, as much as it's exciting for us to talk about it and we want to talk about it? So it can be difficult to navigate, but it is something that we're also not all, trying to force turning that off.
Right, just because I think we should. On the same token as that, though, I do think it's...
What kind of token is it?
It's a Chuck E. Cheese token.
Yes.
It's a kid's world that's around you. It's happening all around you.
I do think it's important to give yourself these little routines that break up the day so that you can have an excuse to be pulled away from your work so that you can even then tune in and say, oh, am I burning out? Like, am I tired? Like all those things. So the example I'm giving is if you really love what you do and you're working 24/7 and nighttime comes and you're like, oh shoot, I didn't even go outside today. That's bad.
Yeah.
So one thing that we do is every single day we take Plax for a walk at 5 o'clock, and that has been such a good natural check-in time for us. So we get outside, we just like tune into nature, we have a chat, and then we both ask ourselves when we come back, this is when things were like a lot more hectic, and it was like, could I work for another hour, or is it time to like turn it off for the night? And for me, a lot of the time, like the older I get, the answer is I need to turn it off, because my ability to just go and go and go, and you're seeing it now, the repercussions of doing that for so many years. Now I've kind of learned the answer is almost always like, yeah, just for the evening, I need to kind of.
Yeah. And I think specifically to answer your question too, like how do you turn off your work brain? For me, a couple things that I do. One is going to see movies in the theater because it's such an immersive experience. When I sit here on this couch and I watch a movie there, my phone is within distance, my laptop is over there. I can so easily jump back into work things. I need to get out of my space and get into something that is not where I can work. And that does really help. Like I like going and seeing like big action movies. I went and saw Shazam recently. And the entire time I wasn't thinking at all about work things. And I just think that is healthy to turn that off. So you have to give yourself exercises that remove that. I know, Caleb, you go for like really long walks. Those things can be really helpful and you just have to kind of find your way. But I also don't think it has to be a perfect like turn off the switch of work if you actually really love what you're doing. Jay, because you've kind of touched on this a couple times and maybe people don't know if they're watching this video and they haven't really tuned into anything else. Jay asked, have you learned any good anxiety tips or for coping with helping others who haven't?
Oh my God.
So,
my list of anxiety remedies is deep.
Let's give a very, very, very quick and abridged, what are you dealing with right now?
Last year was really stressful. My mom had cancer. She's okay now. We were building Wandering Aimfully. That was very emotionally rough. Immune system was low. In the fall, I got shingles. Look it up. It was really hard.
Just don't look up images.
That was also like a shot to my nervous system as well as just my overall anxiety, which I'm a very sensitive person, so I have anxiety issues. Felt okay in felt okay in January, then snapped to middle of January. Basically from then to now, I've just been dealing with a lot of very scary physical symptoms, dizziness, shortness of breath, panic attacks, sinus pressure, headaches. I think it's related to anxiety. I know you're all like, well, have you done tests and stuff like that? We're doing blood tests, we're doing all the things. So anyway, I'm pretty sure it's related to anxiety. And if all of that is not, I still struggle with anxiety and have for years. So I'm at the point now where some days are okay and other days are really bad.
Yeah, and if you want, the reason why I said give an abridged version is because we recorded an entire episode of Wandering Aimfully, the show, video and podcast, talking about your journey with anxiety. So I would definitely encourage you to go through and watch that. You talk about some of the things that you've done to help get through some of it. You talk about some of the things that you've learned from other people, you've read, etc. And I think really the answer there is not to put words in your mouth, but it's like there is no one thing.
Right. So I've tried like a lot of different things. I'll give you like, what are my like top 3 helpful
Survivor.
things? Well, definitely like the first thing that you have to do is change your environment, change your work expectations, change whatever expectations are on you. That's the first tip. I always kind of forget that one because it's thankfully we live in a way that is very easy for me to.
Right. You don't work in a 9-to-5 job.
Exactly.
We don't have kids.
But do whatever you can to figure out what those stressors are and limit them. That's first. CBD is something that has been very helpful for me. I take almost every night 2 CBD. I do the capsules, not the oil, because the oil doesn't really help me. So that just helps keep the panic at bay. Breathing is huge. I know it sounds super simple. On the Calm app now, I've discovered there's a little breathing section and they have like little chimes that helps you. And I like
thought
that
our
a lot.
fridge was open for like 3 hours.
Jason was like, where is that noise coming from?
I looked and I was
"It's
like,
my
what is
Calm app."
going on? Calm.
Breathing. Meditation can sometimes be actually really hard. I feel like for people who are going through anxiety. So that hasn't proven to be that great for me. It kind of makes it worse sometimes. Getting in my body, I have a stupid little dance app that I do sometimes where I just like dance in front of the mirror or do a 5-minute yoga session just to like move my body. That's helpful. There's one very interesting thing that I just found on YouTube like 2 days ago. That's a technique to help people come down from a panic episode, which I don't struggle that much with panic attacks anymore. It's just more of a low grade anxiety. But if you are somebody who really struggles with panic attacks, I think it's called spinning feelings. And you'll find this kind of interesting. I haven't told you about this yet. you basically walk, so you can do it for yourself, but you think about a scenario that makes you anxious, or if you're in an anxiety moment, and you ask yourself, what does it feel like? Where does the pathway go? So like, is it from your head to your stomach, or where is it in your body? From the windows to the walls. Yeah. How big is it? And then you go, what color is it? And then you go, which way is it spinning? And so you'll just say, oh, it's spinning this way, and it's white or whatever. And the technique is to then imagine it and visualize it that way, and then choose a color that you like better and have it spin the opposite direction.
What's another word for the opposite direction? You can do it. Widdershins. Oh, babe, missed opportunity. That was we Googled that for you very early on.
I don't remember a single. When you were telling me about Jakuta babies before, I don't even know what that's from.
Oh, bummer.
It goes in one ear, not the other.
Widdershins, not a cheese disease, is a term meaning to go counterclockwise.
What?
Who knew?
Can you spell it?
WIDDER, shins.
But anyway, I tried it on myself, and it was surprisingly effective. So if you're in like a really panicky state, try spinning feelings technique.
I'm going to just say this one because it's not a question, but it's a fun one. Alex Lawton, who was a Buy Our Future person, which is cool. She just said, you've given me so many answers and things to implement. It's time to take action now. Didn't feel like that was a question that needed to answer. Obviously could have just ignored it, but I wanted to bring it up because Alex, we appreciate you, and
take that action.
Acknowledging that you want to take action is good. Julie asked, this is a good one. Julie, I appreciate this question. What is the best thing about your relationship? On the count of 3, we're going to say one word.
Oh, shoot. Give me a second.
Hey,
what is the best
first
thing?
word we're going to say is, Plaxico, stop clicking. Hey, stop. Right.
You're not going to choose my word. Ooh! Can I have 2 words?
No,
just
the number 1 word,
okay.
And then we can discuss. Okay. Ready? Mm-hmm. 3, 2, 1.
Humor.
Yes. Marriage. Second one.
Okay.
Sex. I just had to do it for your reaction.
Second one. 3, 2, 1.
Food.
Support.
There's no chance
right.
2 through 10 would ever be close
Match.
to related. Yeah, not at all.
Fine.
Yeah, I do think that it's very easy for us to answer this question because I think the thing that has kept our relationship strong, I think the thing that has kept our relationship even like together during these really hard times for you the past 6 months is humor. And it's a natural defense mechanism for me to use humor in times of difficulty. That's just something that I've always done. But it's helpful. And I really do think like we go to your therapy appointments and I just joke around like crazy because I know how nervous you are to be there. I know how difficult those things must be. And so having some levity and adding some humor I think is helpful. And then just in general, like life is too short to not laugh and be silly and joke around.
And honestly, like during these really hard seasons of life, like these past 2 months, like it has been so hard for me to find joy in things, which is so far removed from who I am as a person. Like I find like joy and beauty and humor in everything when I'm feeling myself, but I haven't felt myself. And so to have somebody who like can do that heavy lifting for you and can remind you this can be funny and you can laugh even when you're in pain or even when you've had a really low day, it's okay to laugh. And I think that was the very first thing that attracted us together. So it like makes sense that.
Speak for yourself. I was the Hout Florida Gator. DG. All right, moving on.